How are you, buddy?
Good, mate. How you going?
Really good.
I'll get the door for you. Welcome to paradise, mate.
It was like 4 degrees when I left this morning.
Where to, sir?
Nearest pub.
Would you like me to get that window for you while you're back there?
If you can find the freaking button. How you doing? Welcome to Barrel Brothers. So here we are today picking up the president from these guys at the skid factory. Woody picked me up from the airport and the thing is just running beautifully. It's awesome. So the question is, I thought I'd fire these guys a few questions while we're here. And let's start with, how did you guys get started in this?
What, the skid factory?
The skid factory. Like there's stuff that goes on before that. Like how did you two meet, like to start off with?
Woody was a 16-year-old grommet and he got us to change the engine in his
Even though I was an apprentice mechanic.
S12 Gazelle.
And an S12 Gazelle.
S12, yeah.
So we took out one engine that was not real good and put another engine that was probably
Just as bad.
pretty much just as bad. And then he just hung around.
And it
I've
just,
been a mechanic since 19 diggity, so
yeah.
he goes way back.
Well, you can see that in the depth of knowledge of stuff. You know, it's crazy.
Oh, there's a bit of knowledge there, yeah.
Yeah.
Sure.
And this, you know, this thing is just running so well. I'm so pleased with it. It just sounds so much happier. Really, so much happier.
We never really took it for a drive when you dropped it off. Remember the day you dropped it off?
We were so disgusted by the chrome air cleaner that we couldn't bring ourselves to drive.
It was like coughing and farting.
But that's it.
Couldn't-
It was just, it
was
was
bad.
running like a bag of shit.
It was bad.
So, yeah. So there's a couple of bits and pieces that weren't on the videos that I wanted to discuss. Mainly is when they had it on the dyno, Al was saying that they had troubles getting temperature in it. Now the opposite, I had the actual opposite of that. I couldn't get the temperature out of it. So you explained to me what was actually causing that.
Yeah, so this inlet manifold looks like just a generic chunk of aluminium, but it's actually, it's like, I don't know if you're Australian, you probably know the bunch of bananas manifold that you have on your Holden EFI 5 litre engines that has a central passage, and then the inlet runners roll right around, so they're long.
Okay.
They run right around to the other side. That works awesome when you've got air going through it, but when you've got a carburetor sitting on top of it, the central cylinders tend to be biased because it's in the middle, and then you're wanting the not very well.
It's not really distributing.
The carburetor's not working very well in the first place, so the fuel's falling out of suspension, and then you've got all this long, complicated passages, and as it travels along those passages, the fuel just wants to fall out and stick to the walls and not be atomised.
Oh, okay.
Sort of thing. So what you ended up with when we pulled the thing apart after you came up here was melted wiring and other very hot things on the perimeter edges of like the outer cylinders.
All right, so I was running really lean out
on the
there,
outers
and this is why I couldn't keep it. Yeah, this is why it was getting hot.
Lean mixtures tends to make things very hot. If it's radiating enough heat to melt things like wiring, then you're in for a bad time. All the plug leads were, not all of them, but selected plug leads were very, very melted, and it takes a lot to melt a plug boot. So
Yeah, well, that's
an engine that was making probably 80 horsepower if it was lucky.
If it was lucky, I'd say.
But even the factory Nissan wiring down on the alternator down that side under the air conditioning compressor, there's like factory heat sheathing over it because it is pretty close to the exhaust manifold, and the wires underneath that were
That's what we first noticed.
Yeah, some of them were a bit crusty, but
Yeah,
we had to replace a couple of them.
So
it's gotten really bloody hot in the meantime. That's a nice pointer you got there, mate.
it's a little bit dirty, but
I've seen that somewhere before.
I think you can buy these online somewhere.
Yeah. So, over here you say? Down here?
Down there, in underneath that aircon compressor.
Okay.
The alternator wiring was melted. I think, Woody, you found that,
Yeah,
didn't you?
yeah.
Because we were pulling apart the wiring and removing everything that didn't need to be there, and you were under there for some reason, and it was like, oh, that's, you know, there's bits of
It's sloppy and yeah, sticky.
PVC and, you know, conduit dripping on the ground. So we pulled it out, and it was, you know, it wasn't destroyed, but we had to re-sheath it and everything, and I think we wrapped it in.
We'll put some
heat
race work
proofing,
stuff
but
on there, yeah.
Then we started looking further, and yeah, you could see that there was definite heat problems everywhere, which you shouldn't have when it's got no power. So,
Well, that's it. And it was using like heaps of fuel, and we've actually just been cruising around it, down around Noosa, and sort of did the main drag crawl, which is pretty cool.
Did the standard Noosa hot lap, yeah.
So yeah, plenty of thumbs up, and there's quite a few people actually know the car, or they just think it's cool. I have no idea, but yeah, it seems to be a lot of people actually know the car. So it's just running so much better. It's happy now. It really is happy. As you see, the boys have put the original airbox back on, but yeah, just a pipe in between and got rid of that horrible bloody flat thing that was on there.
yeah, the airflow meter was a very, very small orifice.
What's that like?
It was
But yeah, just the interesting thing I thought was basically, from what I saw, Al taking stuff and throwing it in the bin. So there's so much stuff missing from all in around here, like hoses and just vacuumy things and God knows what that was floating around there. It's amazing. I've probably lost about 50 kilos worth of crap out of it, I reckon. Yeah. Now, the other thing I was going to ask him about was that nasi goreng lid in the fuel tank. I thought it was a put on.
I think it's here somewhere. So we do have a thing about pulling eight balls out of various engine parts and stuff like that, which is obviously, you know, a bit of a running joke, but this wasn't a joke. It was legit in there.
It was actually
we
in there.
didn't even know what it was. We could just see it through the fuel that there was something there that had writing on it. And I thought it was like a Japanese comic or something at first, because it was all, you know, Ripley looking. So I got in there and spent ages fishing it out, and yeah, it was, you know, a nasi goreng packet with an address written on the back of it. So,
well, they must have been the guys who cleaned the tank out, because I remember
there's fuel tank problems with it initially, because that's probably what started the dramas, I guess.
I think that's what's happened. Yeah, it's sat around for years and years. I know he complained a lot about how much he paid to get the fuel tank cleaned out. So
We know who did it this time.
We know who did it. But yeah, the phenolic spacer.
So a lot of work considering that R31 Skyline and probably just about every other Nissan in the 90s and 80s
had the same size.
would have just.
Well, that's it. But even that, like the linkage on the throttle that was through there, it was a bottomed out bolt with a couple of Whitworth sockets on it. And I made a little brassy thing, which you might have seen Al take off.
Don't need Whitworth anymore.
No, we don't. There was no other use for them. Yeah. Just to use Whitworth. Oh. Once upon a time I worked on BMC cars, they're not fun. So yeah, and it's just, we just done it, as I said, we just did the cruise around the street, we put some fuel in it, and just putting around the place and not really driving anywhere. We're down to, what was it,
1750?
17.5 litres per 100, down from 28 when I drove it up here, and it's got bags more power. It's just cruising so well. I'm just so pleased with this, guys. You've done a fantastic job. Thank you very much.
No worries.
Woody and Al.
Nothing like improving a vehicle to make you
Yeah.
satisfied, no matter whether it's going from 80 to 130 horsepower or 300 to 1,000. It's still the same improvement. The improvement's there, and it makes you.
Well,
happy.
percentage-wise, it's
The effort
massive,
you
you
put in
know.
is worth it.
Yeah, I sort of like these quirky old cars, and it's just running so much better, and it's so much happier. And that's the thing, you know, that a lot of people commenting, oh, put a turbo on it, put this on it, put on that. It's not that kind of car. It's 2 tonnes, and it hasn't got real big brakes on it, and it's got double A-arm suspension, so there's no point in making it fast. That's not how it is.
Apparently the wheels are too small too. Someone said the wheels are too small.
The wheels are too small. No, they're not.
Needs 20s.
No,
Stop it. I'm leaving. No, we don't do that sort of crap here. Here you go. For people that are wondering about this, you want to get around about the right size for your car. I know there's a lot of people that still buy into that school, but really the big wheel thing is over. It's finished now. There's still a lot of people that like it, and good for you. I'm happy for you. But you want to get something that looks reasonable on your car, is get the original size wheel for it. I'm not talking width, we're talking diameter. And go that 1, maybe 2 in some cases, inches bigger, and that's all you need. And it looks right on the car. This came out with a 14 originally with a stupidly sized tyre. Now it's got a 15 on it. We might even change those because I know somebody that does wheels. But yeah, that's the plan. Thanks very much, guys.
No worries.
Thanks for your time and share. I should bring the Sunny truck up here.
You should have a nice drive home now that it's running right.
It's going to be so much better. I was like filling it up with fuel at 250 kilometres on the clock because of the fuel gauge. But yeah, we've just got over 300 and put just over half a tank in it. So
yeah, there should be 500-600 k's there now.
Yeah,
easy.
500 or 600 k's out of a tank that was doing bugger all with a shitty carby on it. Yeah.
I didn't throw the carby out.
You didn't throw it?
It's in the back. I'm going to let you throw that out at your leisure.
Maybe I should put it up on a little plinth in the Barrel Brothers shop, you know, with piece of shit written. But like, you know, some people like carbies. I don't. And, you know, this is a testament to how well the old girl's running. You know, the problem was the manifold's not designed for a carby. It's just not going to work like that. I can turn the air conditioning on in summer now. This is going to be great. This is going to be fantastic. Thanks, guys.
No worries, mate.
I'm so pleased with it. I really am.
Anytime, mate.
Woody and Al, legends. Okay, here we are on the road. It's 6:25. Got a little bit of a late start. I stayed at Woody's place last night, and he made me this smashing coffee. He's like wide awake now. It's freaking awesome. But yeah, and then we started talking about car stuff, and I didn't get away at 5:30. Got away at about 6. So we're presently cruising along at 110, and I'll show you something that this can do now that it didn't do before. Acceleration. Boys have done a fantastic job. So yeah, this is cruising president style. As you can hear, it's very quiet here. There's a little bit of wind rustling around the side, but it's probably tyre noise more than anything. A little bit of a whine from the diff. If you're really listening carefully and you turn the speakers right up, you might be able to hear it. But that's about it. It's a really nice place to be. It'd be better if I was sitting there. Anyway, the chauffeur, I booted him out, and I'm driving because the car's working really well, and away we go. We're heading off to Sydney. If you drive straight through, it's like an 11.5-hour drive from Woody's house to home. But that's if you don't stop. If you have to stop, then it's more like a 13. It depends how long you stop for. But yeah, we did the fuels yesterday and got about 17.5, which is damn sight better than 28 litres per 100. And we'll see how she goes on the freeway today. But apparently, like, cruising along at this speed is, let me think. Cruising along at this speed is doing about 100 k's is doing 2700 RPM. So yeah, it's quite happy at that. Going 110, maybe just under 2900, something like that, just under 3000. Would be nice to have a bigger gear, another gear, but yes, but the car's running wonderfully, absolutely wonderfully. All right, I'll talk to you later on in the day. We've just completed our first stop. We just had our first stop. We're 315 kilometres, and it looks like it's used half a tank of fuel. The fuel gauge is still a bit dicky. You fill it right up and it comes up to halfway. So what I figure is it's and it comes down, the last brick has just disappeared on it, so we figured out about 500 to 600 k's of tank. So what I'll do is I'll run it out to 400 and then we'll fill it up, and that'll tell us what it's doing on the freeway. So yeah, but it's your best friend on the road, this thing. It's just so big and smooth, and it's just got that slight V8 rumble to it. Yeah. Decided to keep a little bit of memorabilia while I was here in there it is, folks. That's going straight to the pool room. Alright, here we go again. We're not far from the last stop actually. When I started this morning, it needed a little bit of coolant. So I thought, well, it's been open because it actually split a hose with the boys under the dash here, which is going to have to be replaced, to the heater coil. So I figured, okay, it's just like self-bleeding itself because it's been open. Al fixed something under the bonnet too that was also leaking, weeping. So I thought, oh yeah, that's just weeping a bit. Anyway, stopped at Ballina, and about 20 k's up the road from Ballina, after we started again, the coolant light came on again. So I pulled over and I thought, oh, maybe just it's self-bleeding, needs a top up, but noticed that there's a little hose that does a look. Well, it's not a little hose, it's like radiator size, that runs, I think, from the manifold to the engine, and that has a hole in it, and there's water coming in. Now I thought I might get to Coffs Harbour and visit Muzz, but that's an hour and a half away. But we're about, what have we got, 20 minutes from Yamba, and there's a Repco there, so I think we'll lob into Yamba and let it cool down for a bit and have a fish around in their radiator hoses and whatnot, and see if we can find something with the right sort of bend, a couple of hose clamps and some coolant, and away we go. Didn't really bring any tools, which is a bit unlike me, but I've got the trusty Leatherman. I might have to buy a couple of screwdrivers. Maybe I keep the Leatherman razor sharp, so I might be able to cut the hose. I figured do it at Repco car park. So yeah, that's the plan at this stage of the game. We're just keeping an eye on the temp gauge, which is sort of flickering on and off. So I'm wondering if the sensor is actually floating around in air at the moment instead of coolant. So cross your fingers. We'll see how we go. Repco in Yamba, where Frank has actually given us quite a hand. He's found us some Nissan hoses that I think are going to do the job. Anyway, he's just loaned me a screwdriver, and we'll give it a shot, see if we can get it to work. Excellent, here we go. Okay, so this one, excuse the shaky hands, this one's off. Here's the problem right here. Now our other drama is, if I hold these two up together, it's a smaller size, but we might have to pull a bit of a Swifty where we chop a bit off this one and stuff it inside there, and then clamp the whole bloody lot. Yeah, just one of those things. I figure this is my life now, chasing down split hoses. Okay, here we go. Okay, so let's see if we can get the damn thing on now. Okay, so we got that sorted. A couple of hose clamps. Frank at Repco and Yamba, can recommend. Very helpful guy. Yeah, he's a mechanic, so he sort of knows his bickies. So we're back on the road again, and well, about an hour we'll go past Coffs Harbour, so we'll know how everything's going by then. We have some dramas. Mars has offered we can go and drop into his workshop, so with a bit of luck we can just go sailing straight past, and Bob's your uncle. Here we go. I'm hot. Might turn the air conditioning on. Do I want to put that up against the cooling system? We'll see how we go. Shoes off anyway, my feet are hot. So I suppose the good thing about stopping there is we've got an hour until we hit Coffs Harbour, and that's where Big Muzz lives. So if we've got any dramas between here and there, if they're going to happen, they'll probably happen just after we get to Coffs Harbour. Being pessimistic, but yeah, if we've got any dramas, he'll be able to give us a hand there. He's a top bloke. So surrounded by top blokes, isn't that amazing? You know, good mates. Alrighty, so we got everything sorted in Yamba, did the bit of hose into the end of the other hose, trick to get the size down, clamped it all up, let it burp while we were there. Once or twice, did a couple of burps, and basically we've just closed it up because we need to get back on the road, otherwise it's going to be bloody midnight by the time we get home. So we're away we go again. We'll let it burp on the freeway next time we stop. Just let it cool down a bit, and it'll burp and suck it out of the overflow to fill itself back up again. And away we go. Now the interesting thing is, filled it up with fuel in Yamba at $1.69.9 per litre, which was a bit rough. And because it's tuned for unleaded, for premium, for 98. And 402 kilometres and 64 litres, so that's just under 16 litres per 100. Bit better than 28, isn't it? So it'll do, I'd say, well, that was at 400 k's and it still had plenty left. 64 litres, say 65, still had 30 odd litres in the tank. So 95 litre tank, away we go. So I reckon it'd do probably 500 at a stretch. We'd stop at sort of 450 or so, fill her up. But yeah, at the moment we're cruising along at 110. You wouldn't know it, would you? Quiet, smooth. Except for its hose splitting problem. I love this thing, it's awesome. And so does everybody that sees it. Got nailed by a couple of people at the Repco that had seen it on the skid factory last night. It came out and said, like, I'm sure, like, I saw it out the front and I was watching on Skid Factory last night. I thought to myself, there can't be another one out there, and no, there isn't. This is it. So good on you, viewers. Anyway, we'll talk to you a bit later on, see how we go, and on we go with the trip. Okay, welcome to the next episode. Is Where the Hell is Mark Now? We've passed Coffs Harbour, stopped there and just checked everything out. The car's running really well. Looks like our little fix on the radiator hose has worked. The temperature gauge has been a little bit dicky on and off, and as we were talking to Al yesterday about melted stuff, I had a bit of a look under the bonnet, and the wire to the sensor is like melted, and I figured that it's because it's been working at lower speeds, but as you speed up it gets flickery and then it stops working. Because it's right at the front of the engine there, I'm thinking maybe the air was coming through. Well, my first theory that the sensor wasn't actually coolant, but we fixed that. That wasn't the problem. So I've had a bit of, I thought that the air pressure might be pushing the wire back. The wire's actually parted, so I got under there and wiggled it around, and it's loose. It's not real good on the fittings. It's a bit loose. So I bent it forward, and lo and behold, we had gauge until we got up to 110, and then it's gone again. So onward ho. Now, other things about the car is all the heater and air conditioning seems to be working properly now, and I think that is Alan Woody fixing up all of the vacuum leaks in the thing. So I don't think we've got any vacuum leaks. And the other upside of that is the gearbox is now changing gear just beautifully. It's really smooth. It just slurs into the next gear. It's only got 2 we've only got 3 gears, so it sort of cruises along. Apparently at 100 k's it's doing about 2700, so I suppose at about 110 it's doing 3 grand, and it tops out at 4, but it seems quite happy at 3. Temperature has not budged over halfway on the gauge when it's working, but this it's just driving so well. I'm so pleased with it. So onward ho. We've got what, about 5.5 hours to home, so I figure we'll be there about 8:30 or so, and away we go. I get to drive now. It's working properly. You don't speak much anyway. Yes, sir. That's because you never let me speak. Up. All right, you can have a go. But warning, it goes a fair bit better than it used to. Excellent. Who rushed the wheel? Settle down. We know people that can fix that. Seatbelt, sir. Yeah. Told ya. So we made it back to Sydney all right. Car's run like a dream. Alan Woody, you've done a fantastic job. Thanks, Skid Factory, you've done a fantastic job. You've done a great job. The car's, it's beautiful, it really is. We've got to do a little, we've got to do the usual bits and pieces. We need to get the cruise control fixed because there was a couple of times that didn't happen on public roads where I was turtling along, glanced down, and the needle was pointing at 140. It's very, you get a bit of tyre noise, that's about it. It's quiet and smooth, it's really nice. And running so much better. So, we have kept a little bit of memorabilia, you know, the ones that I absolutely had to. The nasi goreng lid, that's a no-brainer. The calendar, of course, and the carb. Yeah, fished it out of the bin and here it is on the memorabilia wall. So, thanks for watching. See you next time.